So I'm here today with Nick, who's an old patient that I've known for, what's it now, 13 years? Yeah, something like that. So I've watched you grow up.
Yes.
I know, scary.
Almost, yeah.
That's almost. So I thought it was really an important thing to reflect back on a lot of the treatments we've been doing. And I guess, in a way, how they change lives.
Yes.
Because that's the important thing. You know, this is about more than straight teeth.
Yeah.
Okay. It's about having a face that has developed to have straight teeth rather than making teeth straight. And of course, all the health and social implications of what we're doing. Nick, do you remember or are you aware of how your parents, came across this treatment?
As far as my memory is, my dad was reading the local paper and he saw an advert for the dental treatment, and I understand they kind of been looking to try and get me dental treatment as early as possible. My teeth weren't in great shape.
Yep.
And so I think it said something like, come and have a consultation. And they came and had a consultation, and I started treatment pretty soon after that.
Yeah. Well, I remember the adverts we were running. We were running something in what was called the Parents News.
Okay.
And my dad was running an advert for the clinic, but he was also placing something that was very critical of the British orthodontists and the General Dental Council, saying that they weren't giving informed consent to people, in particular before surgery. And he was trying to highlight this. And of course, he reported himself to the General Dental Council for that advert.
Yep.
He then got a warning. He still didn't get any debate with them. He then did it again. They gave him a reprimand. And of course, having had a warning and a reprimand when he had a relatively minor case, the rest was history. Anyway, that's by the by. We were trying to raise awareness of it at the time. So why did your parents believe in what we were doing? I didn't guess you.
I was
important at this moment.
I think they still took my opinion into consideration, but after they come and seeing you themselves, obviously we all came in and.
Do you remember that?
I remember bits, but I couldn't tell you any specifics.
No.
But they came in and I guess they liked what they heard and they liked the evidence and clearly saw that the treatment worked. So I do remember the car ride home and they're like, look, it's ultimately your choice. But they were talking about how I wouldn't be able to get traditional braces for a while, and my teeth were clearly already not in a good state. And they're like, I think the big thing was this is kind of like permanent treatment. Not only does it kind of change your teeth, it changes your facial structure and teaches you like habits to keep up that will maintain that facial structure until you're older, which is not something that traditional dental treatment would have provided.
Orthodontic treatment.
Yeah, orthodontic treatment. And therefore I was like, yeah, okay, let's
go. So you opted in.
Yeah,
having met us.
Yeah, my bold 7-year-old self decided to opt in because I was down for the challenge.
What I've observed is, and it's even more true now, is that almost the vast majority of the parents of the patients that come to see us have at least one parent that's not British.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a really, really common finding, and I think it's people. I think in my estimation, my guesstimation here is that there's a less of a fundamental belief in the national health and the system, and I think that seems very true. I mean, what do you think treatment was like? How did you find it?
I'd say it was difficult for me, especially when I was younger, because I think a big reason my parents made me sign up for it is so that I would hold myself accountable and not be like, oh, you put me through this. Whereas I was actually like invested in the idea. So while it was difficult, I still wanted to keep like trying to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve through the treatment. The braces, obviously at the start, like all braces, were uncomfortable, but you get used to them.
Yeah, you would have got used to eating with them and all the rest and speaking.
Yeah, and then speaking with them was a big one. And then obviously when I had to take them out to eat, and I was not the best of remembering to put them back in.
It wouldn't have been the first ones you'd have had to wear all the time.
Okay.
It was when you went on to the second phase, then you have to swap back.
Yeah, so I guess I don't remember the first phase as well. It's
amazing what you forget.
Yes,
horrible things.
I definitely remember the second phase and kind of taking my brace out to eat, and I had an issue of, obviously you'd have to wear it otherwise 24/7, and I had an issue of taking it out in my sleep, so we had to try to fix that, which was a whole issue in itself.
I mean, the training braces is a tough brace.
It is.
And we warned you that it's going to be a tough
and
race.
I knew what I was in for. Nonetheless, obviously, still found it difficult. I mean, we had the brace where you had to rotate on the top with the key.
That was the first race,
yeah. And so I do remember a bit. And I just kind of, I guess, once it was a few years down the line, we obviously had a huge amount of progress photos where I could see a difference.
Yes, yeah, that's really useful.
Even at my young age, and that just, I guess, kept me going. And I mean, people would obviously ask, because you're 8 years old at school when you have a brace, and everyone's like, why do you have braces, kind of thing. But I always knew, because my parents had told me, I guess probably a simplified version of like, this is what is going to happen. And so I was always like, look, this is a better change for me, even at 8 years old.
And of course, I remember talking with you, because I had to motivate you, and you know, I think I build a bond and a relationship with nearly all the patients who come through. I think that it's really important, and I think it's, to be honest, for me, it's been a real privilege to have done this. I mean, I've done this for 25 years, and in that time, I've met lots of young people like you at 6, 7, 8. And I followed them into maturity. Like now,
you could say.
You know, in this strange sort of way, Nick, I'm personally proud of what you achieve because I've had such a lengthy involvement in your life. You know.
Yeah.
I could argue that I've been one of the most influential of your parents, one of the most influential people in your life.
Definitely. You're someone who's a constant in my life that not many people are.
Yeah, but also I've directed how you're helped to direct.
Yeah.
Okay? How your face has grown.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
That is without.
And every person that sees you for the rest of your life
will see the image you sculpted.
I mean, the impact I've had.
Yes. Well, we as a team. Yes, exactly.
As a team. It was teamwork.
Without a doubt, it's something that's definitely benefited me. I don't feel I'd look the way I do today, or have the confidence, maybe you might say.
Yeah. I'm with you about your confidence.
I have today, without the treatment, that's for sure.
Yeah. What else? What other health benefits do you think this has brought you?
I mean, I think my main issue was overcrowding. I had a lot of my adult teeth when I was young.
You had quite a narrow jaw. I went to grab the measurements. You had a 31 millimeter, what we refer to intermolar width. So the clean space between tooth number 6 in your upper jaw, which is just a generic good measurement, was 31.0 millimeters when we started.
Yeah.
And of course that was at 8 years old.
It was 7, I think.
Was it 7?
Started 7.
Okay. All right. And at 7 years old, it might go up 1, maybe 2 more millimeters naturally. If you're lucky, maybe only 1 millimeter naturally. So, and you had a crossbite.
Yes.
Now, we struggled with that crossbite because it reverted again. And then we took the decision just to leave you. So you still have a crossbite on a tooth.
Yes.
Was it the right side or left side?
I think it's the right side.
So that tooth and crossbite, and even with that crossbite now on that tooth, you now have a 35.6 millimeter intermolar width.
Yeah.
Okay. So almost 36 millimeters.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb is I like to have 38 millimeters, but I think if we were to compensate for that one tooth being a crossbite, I think you probably have got a 38 millimeter.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, in the last 2 years, it's got a fraction bigger.
I didn't know that.
Okay, I mean, on the level of measurement error.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't know if it's actually got bigger or it's measured down, but it's on a couple of teeth. So I think on biased, it's probably actually slightly more measurement error. So I think, and that's just one dimension of a 3-dimensional structure, and it's a graphic illustration of how much we've changed you.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, I would expect you get less blocked noses than your average person in
other than hay fever time.
Yes.
But yeah, I would say so. I actually didn't have too bad of a freshers flu experience, which I think always kind of tells you how good that's kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone
Glad
else
to hear.
comes 2 weeks out and their noses are all gone, and mine was pretty fun.
You were pretty good. Well, you've got a good capacity.
Yeah.
And what do you think about the overall outcomes?
I'm extremely happy with it. I mean, I can definitely see the difference today. I mean, I talked about seeing the difference when I was 10 from
Yeah.
3 years. I mean, looking at the difference over 13 is pretty monumental.
What interests me actually, you, like many people who I've treated, have made significant improvement sort of from 13 onwards.
Yeah.
Because I think, and this is what I see with the mewers.
Yeah.
You know, I see a lot of mewers who at sort of 16, 17 start mewing.
Yeah.
And then by the time they're in their early 20s, the change they've made is just extreme.
Yeah.
And I think that you've got this advantage now that you've got this big, wide capacity.
Yeah.
You've got lots of tongue space, which is often the trip up for many people trying to mew.
Yeah.
And I think maybe you didn't make such as a concerted effort of the mewers, but you really were set up well. And you've got this constant influence coming to see me once in a while and me kicking you up the backside and come on, crack.
Yeah. I think for some people, mewing is probably quite a conscious decision, but I think having it ingrained into you over a 13-year period, like you keep saying, this is the best way to kind of hold your mouth, just resting your mouth and also swallowing, chewing, whatever it may be. You kind of just learn, it just becomes a natural habit.
You're not making a conscious effort to swallow or breathe properly?
I wouldn't say I did.
No,
it's
it's become subconscious.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think in a way here you've got the correct structure so that you can do it.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot of messaging over a prolonged period of time, and the two of those have merged together.
Yeah.
And of course, what you're now doing is you're at least supporting it, maintaining it, if not possibly making incremental improvements, which is what the best place to be.
Yes.
That's why I want people. So going back a little into the treatment, what I observe when I look at you at your November 2011 self is you're growing very vertically. The whole face is dropping down, and that's why you've got the crossbite, the top jaw's narrowed, you're set back on the left-hand side, so your jaws are swung. Well, it's not so much swung, but you're definitely set back on the teeth on the left-hand side. You've also got a crossbite. Your upper jaw is narrow. When I look at your facial form in 2011, I worry about how that's going to grow. You're growing downwards. What we're going to do in orthotropics is we widen the top jaw. So we think the whole face is the top front teeth, bottom front teeth. We think the whole face has dropped down back. So the first thing I'm going to do is kick the front teeth up to try and get them back into their position. Then, of course, I'm going to kick the bottom teeth down. So within the bone, they're in their right position. And in a way, I'm exposing this gap. I'm exposing the increase in the vertical drop you've done. So I'm exposing that as a gap between the front teeth by putting the top teeth into their correct position in the top jaw. By putting the bottom teeth into the correct position in the bottom jaw, what I'm doing is I'm exposing the amount of extra vertical. So the reverse of what I'm saying is the front teeth have dropped down, the bottom teeth have dropped up to compensate.
Yeah.
So that you can still bite together. Yeah. And I'm reversing those two compensations. That's the first thing I do. A little bit similar to how orthodontists and surgeons work if you're going to do treatment later with surgery. Now, that comes across as a really sensible idea when I say it in theory. When you look at the photograph of you here with that great big gap, it looks crazy, doesn't it?
It does.
It does look crazy. And okay, that's where I've come unstuck, because the problem is that now, if you wear that brace well, we will slowly close. We're going to put the brace in the training appliance. If you drop your jaw, it's uncomfortable, okay? And you wear that brace all the time, so you keep the muscles working, you keep your mouth closed. You reverse all of the causes. So we're focused on treating the causes of the problem. And of course, because we've really widened the top jaw, now you can breathe out your nose, because that's an absolute necessity for this treatment. Because if you can't breathe out your nose, you can't keep your mouth shut. Well, actually. Now, you wore the brace well. You got through that phase and happy days.
Yeah.
Okay. My worry is, and I've had it before, that people promise you that they're going to work hard. Parents promise you that their child's going to work hard. You do the ugly duckling face, and then they don't work hard. Okay. And that's key where this treatment tends to get unstuck. Also, of course, it's just very, very time consuming to, remember we would when you came in, we would add little bits of plastic in your mouth.
Yes.
And we would then mold them down, check they were comfortable. So I've got to create something that's going to be uncomfortable if you do the wrong thing, and it's got to be comfortable if you do the right thing. And that really does require skills.
Yes.
And it requires time. And this is the big problem I find and why this treatment's not more widely available. But we then progressed from in fact, I think when we started the ugly duckling face, I think actually we increased the vertical. Do you see how your face here in November 2011 compared to June 2012? We did start treatment immediately there. I think it was a little bit of a gap, but otherwise we've increased your vertical.
Yeah.
We've made the whole situation, in a way, worse. Okay? And then, of course, we've moved forward and slowly, over time, we get to this point here. We never straighten your teeth. I don't try to align your teeth. They fall into position naturally.
Yeah.
That's not perfect.
Yeah.
Okay? I wouldn't win an exam, but my reasoning is that anything that you have achieved yourself is going to be far more stable
Then artificially.
than artificially aligning it. Yeah, totally. And okay, so that's the teeth. What do you think about the facial aesthetic outcome?
I definitely said positive.
Yeah, I would as well.
You can kind of see there's an actual element of a jaw.
Yeah.
Compared.
And that's got better because what I find that here, so we're looking at February 2019. So how old would you have been then? That's what, 5 years ago? 15, yeah. So what I tend to find is you're in height of puberty at 15.
Yeah.
If you start chewing and exercising while you're going through puberty, it seems that it develops this at what we call an angle of the mandible really well. And I can remember advising you that at the time.
Yeah.
And it's worked. It really works very nicely. What was interesting me when I remember, before I became a dentist, when I would come up, so I would often get lifts from my father to come into London.
Yeah.
Because the practice is just in South London. I was living out in the sticks in Sussex. So I did a lift with him into Purley. Then I would wait till 9:30 till the trains got cheaper. And then I'd head on into London. And I remember walking around Purley with my father. He would constantly be saying, "Oh, hi, stop, chat to someone." This was the days when he would treat a lot of the local individuals. When the local national health orthodontist was just taking teeth out on everyone.
Yeah.
He was getting a lot of people coming in as an alternative locally. Then other people start doing non-extraction, and we now treat people from all over the country. But at the time, we could walk around Purley and he would bump into patients on a regular basis, and they all had these square jaws. Every single one of them. It was a little bit of, you could tell the Mew jaw on all of these patients. It was just routine. And then in hindsight, what would you say this has influenced you for your future? The total impact of having this compared to normal braces.
I guess I retain more of my adult teeth generally because if I had normal braces, I had overcrowding in my opening. Like images, you can see that. I guess I have a tooth on the roof of my mouth, actually. And I'm undoubtedly would have had something removed, and that would not have been a very pleasant experience. It's nice to
it is nice to have a kick, but my worry is not so much the actual extraction of the teeth.
Yeah.
It would have made the whole tongue volume and the facial mid-face smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, smaller,
Yeah.
there's less space, there's less
Yeah.
tongue space. And
Yeah.
of course, you can see somebody smaller. Of course, good looking back into those November 2011 images, you can see your mid-face was smaller and less developed.
Yeah.
And so we've developed.
Yeah. And I'd say the development into the more defined jawline, the increased aesthetics, or traditional aesthetics is definitely helped me with confidence, etc. in my life, as I mentioned earlier. It's definitely helped me. Essentially, I think confidence is the
I think so. Yes, because you go on and achieve more in life.
Yeah.
And that's also, it's a compounding factor. It's like compound interest because it drives you forward. And of course, you also, what I think is one of the things isn't talked about as much is the overall body posture.
Yeah.
Because you stand relatively well. I mean, I could kick you slightly, I do. But you're definitely standing better than most individuals.
Yeah.
I remember that there was a long period of time we were only running this clinic in Thursdays. And come the summer holidays, we would get lots of the long-term recalls with people we hadn't seen since the year before.
Yeah.
And as it would come in, usually it was the start of the private school holidays. And they'd all start walking in. It was like a catwalk model show. Because all of these people with good facial form, really good physical stance and posture. And you'd call, Joe, you'd call Dave, you'd be calling these people in from the waiting room and they'd be walking down. And I said that there was something in the water here. It was very, very strange.
Yeah.
And I think, again, seeing you as this confident individual it's great. But you're not the only confident individual we're created.
Yes.
And it's not everyone. Not everyone gets, as I said, I've put lots of people in the ugly duckling phase only to find out they're not going to work hard. They're not going to change. They're not going to do what you achieved.
Yeah.
And I think that if anyone pushes himself, we could get this. But maybe I'm self-selecting. Maybe it's because you were the one who were able to get through that you are here now and your confident self.
Maybe. I think I definitely really try to maintain my wear, like keep the numbers up. Obviously we had the timer that would tell you.
Yeah, that was useful.
And it definitely helps hold you accountable. And once you hit the ugly duckling stage, I think for me it was like, I don't really want to stay here. So I was quite glad to get to moving back to get everything in the right place. And that definitely helped motivate me through. And overall build my confidence.
And then would you recommend this treatment to other people?
Without a doubt. I mean, obviously there's science behind it. But from my understanding, I always remember being told like 8 is too late and kind of try and get it done as early as possible.
As early as possible. Well, I'm moving more towards prevention now. Because what I'm seeing is body posture is getting worse. Food's getting more processed. Children are becoming more snowflake. I think the writing is on the wall for complex, expensive, and unprofitable treatment. Particularly when I'm running the risks I've been taking. I will come back to that. I think that with a bit more technology, maybe printed appliances, so you don't spend a lot. I think that there's a future, but we need a bit of a climate shift. I think we need people taking personal responsibility, which is a real new buzzword in healthcare. Because I think we need to turn the tide of people not taking responsibility. And I think that a lot of what you've said here was about you taking personal responsibility for this.
For sure. I mean, I think a good comparison is like if you have an injury. I do sport, and obviously if you have a surgery in sport, let's say you torn your ACL and then you have a surgery and you get given physio exercises and you don't commit to doing the physio exercises, you're not going to heal in the way that you're meant to. I guess in this case, it's obviously quite different, but if you're not taking the personal responsibility to wear the brace as much as possible and maintain your posture and keep the correct swallowing techniques, you're not going to get the results that you want to have.
I think that's a really, really good analogy. Often what I say when I'm discussing this is that it's about being fit. Okay. And I mean, I want to make you facially fit. If you're going to be facially fit, you've got to do your exercises. You've got to make yourself, you're responsible for fitness. And there's no real shortcuts. If you want to get fit, there's no pill, there's no magic, no one can do it for you. And it comes back to this old dichotomy of whether whether it's genetic or whether it's the environment. And of course, this is a big part of my life, this ridiculous argument thing. But I think that we've got to understand there is huge environmental influence on how your face grows. You don't see someone who has a stroke, you know it. But in a way, we're still wedded to this idea that the orthodontist is going to make your teeth straight, make you fine. And I think I think actually what's really important is that people have choice. Okay? Because whatever your beliefs, whatever you feel, you should have choice. You've got a choice.
Yes, I did.
Most people don't get a choice. And I think that's the biggest problem.
And that's all part of firstly, spreading the awareness for it all, but also, I think for me, going back to when I was younger, my parents even gave me the choice of, do you want to actually start it? And that's once we know it, it's a matter of...
Did they give your sister the same choice?
Yes. We both had the same option. And it was essentially, it's your decision. Because even then, I've always looked as myself as someone who kind of like looks into the future, probably a bit too far. And I knew that this was something that was going to benefit me, or at least I believed it would, and it has. And having the ability to have that choice has definitely helped me grow as a person, but also help me in the long term with everything in my life generally. All stemming from the confidence that we talked about earlier.
And I think to sum things up, I think everyone should have that choice. And I think that we need to bring the spotlight of this is my aim, to bring the spotlight of modern medical research onto this area. You can't leave it up to a family. You've got to, have some open science discussion. Right, Nick, listen, mate.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thanks.